Commander Rax Vorn stood before the reinforced titanium cage, his three-fingered hands clasped behind his back in what he believed was a gesture of authority. Inside the cage, the creature from Earth prowled a compact bundle of black and white fur, with claws that had already left deep grooves in the supposedly impenetrable flooring. "A honey badger," Vorn announced to his officers, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into standard galactic. "One of humanity's so-called fearless animals. We shall study it, break its spirit, and prove that Earth's reputation is nothing but bluster." In the corner of the detention hall, a small figure sat on a metal bench, legs swinging freely above the floor. Juno Hale couldn't have been more than 10 standard years old, with tangled brown hair and eyes that seemed far too calm for a child whose pet had just been confiscated. The smile on her face was slight, almost imperceptible, but it never wavered. "You shouldn't have attempted that," Juno said quietly. Vorn's head tendrils twitched in what passed for amusement among his species. "Is that a threat, human child? Your Federation has already failed to meet our territorial demands. This creature is now property of the Kresh Collective, as are you, until your government learns to negotiate properly." "It's not a threat," Juno replied, still smiling. "Just advice." The honey badger, whom Juno had named Biscuit, stopped pacing, its black eyes fixed on Commander Vorn, with an intensity that made several officers shift uncomfortably. In the 73 systems the Kresh Collective had conquered, their forces had faced plasma weapons, biological warfare, and reality-warping technology. None of it had prepared them for the absolute lack of self-preservation instinct radiating from this small Earth mammal. "Secure the cage's secondary locks," Vorn ordered. "Then we begin the conditioning protocols." "Commander," one of his officers ventured, her voice uncertain. "The human child seems unconcerned." "Children are ignorant," Vorn dismissed. "She doesn't understand that her pet is now a research subject. By tomorrow, we'll have mapped every neuron in its primitive brain." Juno's smile widened just a fraction. "Biscuit doesn't like being locked up. Or poked. Or, well, honestly, Biscuit doesn't like much of anything, except me and honey." "Silence," Vorn commanded. He turned to his chief scientist. "Begin the sedation procedure. I want full scans by the end of the cycle." The scientist approached the cage with a pneumatic injector, designed to pierce even the toughest hides from a distance. As he aimed the device, Biscuit sat down calmly, scratching behind one ear with a hind leg. The scientist fired. The dart bounced off Biscuit's hide with a metallic ping. "Increase the pressure," Vorn ordered, his tendrils now standing rigid with irritation. 3 more darts failed to penetrate. The chief scientist adjusted his optical sensors, convinced they were malfunctioning. "Commander, the creature's skin. It's not just thick. It's somehow loose, sliding away from the impact points. I've never seen biology work this way." "Then use a stronger sedative. Direct injection through the cage bars." The scientist was halfway to the cage when Biscuit moved. Not attacked, just moved. The creature's paw shot through the supposedly secure bars, which bent outward like soft clay. Claws raked across the scientist's protective suit, shredding 3 layers of military-grade fabric in an instant. Alarms blared. Officers drew their particle weapons. "Do not fire," Vorn shouted. "The specimen must be preserved." Biscuit wasn't interested in preservation. The honey badger wedged its head through the bent bars, and its entire body seemed to flow through an opening that should have been physically impossible to navigate. Within seconds, it stood in the center of the detention hall, surrounded by 24 armed Kresh officers. None of them moved. There was something in the way the creature stood, weight distributed evenly, muscles relaxed yet ready, that triggered every predator avoidance instinct the Kresh had evolved over millions of years. This wasn't the posture of prey. This was something that had never been prey. Not once in its entire evolutionary history. Biscuit yawned, revealing impressive teeth. "Biscuit," Juno called gently. "Come here, girl." The honey badger trotted over to the child, who slid off the bench and scratched behind its ears. Biscuit made a sound somewhere between a purr and a growl, a rumble of pure contentment. Commander Vorn's translator struggled to capture the pitch of his voice. Impasse. How did that cage was designed to hold a thoraxian battle bear? Honey badgers have really loose skin, Juno explained, as if discussing the weather. And they're super bendy. Also, they have this thing where they just don't stop. Ever. My mom's a xenobiologist. She studies Earth animals for the Federation. She told me that honey badgers have been documented fighting off lions, hyenas, and leopards, sometimes all at once. She looked up at Vorn with those two calm eyes. They've been stung thousands of times by bees and just kept eating the honey. They've been bitten by venomous snakes and woken up a few hours later to finish eating the snake. There's really not much that stops them. We have weapons, Vorn said. But even he heard the uncertainty in his own voice. Sure, Juno agreed. But you wanted Biscuit alive for study, remember? And she knows when someone's being mean to me. She gets protective. As if on cue, Biscuit stepped in front of Juno, that dead-eyed stare fixed on Commander Vorn. The standoff lasted 3 full minutes, an eternity in tactical terms. Finally, one of Vorn's officers spoke the words everyone was thinking. Commander, perhaps we should reconsider our negotiating position with the Federation. Vorn's tendrils drooped in defeat. In 73 conquered systems, he had never ordered a retreat from a single Earth creature and one human child. But he was a military commander, not a fool. He'd seen the combat footage from Earth's animals, the videos that Federation diplomats played during negotiations, always with knowing smiles. The orcas hunting in coordinated packs, the cassowaries with their killing claws, the Australian inland taipan with enough venom to kill 100 humans, the hippopotamuses that killed more people annually than any other large land animal, and somewhere in the middle of that nightmare classification system was this. The honey badger, Mellivora capensis, listed as least concern, not because it was gentle, but because nothing on Earth concerned it enough to threaten its existence. Open the doors, Vorn said quietly. The human child and her companion are free to go. Juno stood, one hand resting on Biscuit's head. Thank you, Commander. For what it's worth, I think you made the right choice. As they walked toward the exit, Vorn called after her. Tell your Federation negotiators. We accept their original, territorial proposal. Juno looked back, that slight smile still in place. I'll let them know. Oh, and Commander? My mom says humanity has 14,000 other domesticated and wild species back home. Most of them are way friendlier than Biscuit. She paused at the doorway. Most of them. Commander Rax Vorn watched the child and the honey badger disappear into the corridor. Behind him, his officers began the tedious process of repairing the damaged cage. He knew it was pointless. They'd never capture another Earth creature again. Not if this was what the planet had to offer. He'd locked the honey badger in a cage. The child had simply smiled. He shouldn't have attempted that. In the end, humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their tactics. It was living on a death world for so long that they'd turned its most fearless predators into pets, and they did it with the confidence of a 10-year-old girl who had always known that nothing in the galaxy was quite ready for Earth. Not its weapons, not its warriors, and certainly not its honey badgers.